The first time I went skydiving will definitely be my last. I want to tell you a story. No, stories are fiction. This is not a story. Let me start over. I want to tell you the truth. The truth about what happened the day my friends and I decided to go skydiving. Now, due to the non-disclosure agreement I had to sign, and the $250,000 settlement, I cannot tell you the name of the company. I'll just say that they fly left instead of right. Get it? Anyway, you might have heard about it on the radio, or saw it on the news. I know I certainly did. But they did not tell you what really happened. No, they only told you what they were allowed to say. What I am about to tell you is the God's honest truth. Now, you have to understand that I am one of those keep your feet firmly planted on the ground kind of people. I don't like heights. I don't even like standing on a chair to change out a light bulb. It's not that I'm afraid of falling, it's the sudden stop that bothers me. So, the thought of me going skydiving is something that never crossed my mind. Until that day. It started out like any other normal Saturday. I got up around 7, put on a pot of coffee, took a shower while it was brewing, got dressed, went to the kitchen, got a cup of coffee, and sat on the front porch. I was just sitting there when my phone began to ring. It was Eric. A lot of people called him Skippy, or Skip. I just called him Eric. He had been a friend of mine since junior high. Anyway, I answered the phone. Hey, Eric. What's up? It's a little early to be calling, man. I just got up, I said, extremely groggy. Oh, hey, sorry about that, man. But look, Dylan, Stacy, Ronnie, and I are going skydiving later this morning. You wanna go? He asked. How long have we known each other? You know I don't even live in a 2-story house because it's too high off the ground. What makes you think? I began to say. Eric then cut me off by pulling the Amanda card on me. What's the Amanda card, you ask? Well, you see, Amanda was Eric's sister, who I had had a major, well, let's say, crush on since before high school. Amanda's going, he said, in a yeah. I pulled that card tone. Really, man? You're gonna pull that card on me? I asked. Whatever works, man. He replied, laughing. You're an asshole, Eric. I stated. I know. It's one of my better qualities. He replied, laughing, louder this time. Fine, I'll be there. But if I die, I'm coming back to haunt your ass. I stated laughingly. Cool, man. See you at the airport in town, 11 o'clock. Bring a barf bag, he said. You really are an asshole, Eric. I said. See you then, buddy. Later, he stated. Yeah, later, man. I replied. I went back in the house, got another cup of coffee, and decided to get changed. A pair of torn jeans, and a coffee as my blood type t-shirt would have been fine, if only the 5 of us were going. But no, Amanda was going too. I had to look my best. I put on my best pair of jeans, with a black belt, a maroon-colored button-up collared shirt, with a blue tie, and my best pair of black Nikes. It was not going to work. But, you can't say I didn't try. Anyway, I hung around the house until about 10:30. At that point, I grabbed my wallet, and my keys, and headed out to my car. I got in, started her up, and began driving to the airport. On my way there, a crow hit my windshield, right in my line of vision. Bird blood and brains splattered all over the windshield. Holy shit, I screamed, hitting the brakes, and stopping in the middle of the road. Thank God there were no cars behind me. Now, I can't say that I'm a very superstitious man, but I am to some point. Some people believe that a bird hitting your car is a sign of a pending doom. I didn't believe it then, but I do now. I looked in the rearview mirror to see the crow flopping around on the road. I whipped my head around to look out the back window. I watched in total shock as the bird stood up. Its face was completely smashed in. Its head was leaning over to the left, with one of its eyes hanging out. Blood was everywhere. It caught a few times, then it just flew away, head still hanging to the left. What the fuck? I said to myself. That bird should be dead. I turned back around, trying not to shit myself from what I just saw. I slowly reached up, turned on the windshield wipers, and the sprayers, to try and clear the windshield. My wipers are really old, so all that did was smear it. I could hardly see through the mess. I stopped off at that creepy little gas station in town, and used their windshield cleaning thing that's always by the gas pumps. I got back in, and drove to the airport. I parked the car, and got out. I then began walking up to the terminal, which was actually a double-wide trailer. Anyway, I saw one of my old classmates, some guy named Richie or something, mowing the grass. He was a strange kid in high school, so I didn't even acknowledge him. I turned the corner of the terminal to see all 4 of my friends, and the blonde goddess known as Amanda, standing there talking. I walked up to them. You actually showed up. Ronnie said, we were taking bets on whether you were gonna bail or not. I win. Amanda said happily, in that cute little voice that drove me absolutely insane. She then did a little bouncy jiggle. Give me my money, she said laughing, as Stacy handed it over to her. She stood there counting it. When she was done, she turned to me and said flirtatiously, I knew you would come for me. She then kissed the money, and slapped it on her right thigh. Money in the bank, she said smiling, putting it in her back pocket. Amanda knew that I liked her, and used it to her advantage, every chance she got. It's not a very attractive personality trait, but her physical appearance outweighed it, at least to me. She's short, about 5'3", slightly chubby, with blonde hair, blue eyes, and pouty lips. I, on the other hand, am tall, kind of nerdy, about 6'1", skinny, with curly brown hair, and glasses. Eric was the partier of the bunch, always with a beer in one hand, and a cigarette in the other. He was short like Amanda, with long black hair. Ronnie was tall like me, African American, and very athletic. He played basketball in school, and ran track. He was also very intelligent. Stacy was a little bit taller than Amanda. She was very shy and timid, with long brown hair. And then there was Dylan. Dylan was every father's nightmare. He was the bad boy type, greasy black hair, white t-shirt, leather jacket, and jeans. He looked a lot like the Fonz from Happy Days. He wore that outfit all the time. I don't think he had any other clothes. Anyway, let's get going already. Where is this guy? Dylan said, flicking his cigarette to the ground. As soon as he finished his sentence, this big Tom Arnold-looking guy opened the door to the terminal, and stepped out. He wore Bermuda shorts, a flowery Hawaiian shirt, socks with sandals, and wore an old fisherman's hat. Hey y'all, you fixing to go skydiving? He asked, in a really bad impression of a southern accent. Yeah, Dylan said, that's what we paid for. No, I don't like to talk bad about people, karma and all, but this guy looked like he was a few fries short of a Happy Meal. You get what I'm saying? Well, let's get to getting then. My name is Steve, he said, my plane is right over here. He then pointed toward a cluster of different planes, and began walking towards them. Where's the other guy? Dylan asked. Steve stopped and turned around. Oh, he went and called out sick. So, I'm his replacement. We all just looked at him funny. Come on. We're burning daylight here, people. Let's go, Steve said, and began walking toward the planes again. We all followed him in a pack. He looked back at Amanda, smiling on occasion. Anyway, we were just about to reach the plane, which had the company name on it, when a black cat came out of nowhere, and ran directly in the middle of us, almost tripping Stacy. Okay, first a bird hit my windshield, now a black cat crossed our path. Something bad is going to happen, I thought. I stopped dead in my tracks. Guys, I don't think this is a good idea, I stated. They all stopped, and turned around. Come on man, I've done this 100 times. It's totally safe, Dylan said. Please, Amanda said, pouting out her lip. If I had listened to the head on my shoulders, all that shit wouldn't have happened, but like always, when it came to Amanda, let's just say, that wasn't what was doing my thinking. Alright, I said, beginning to walk again. We got to the plane, and Steve opened the door. I have no idea what kind of plane it was, but it was bigger than I thought it would be. I counted 22 seats. Anyway, we all piled in. Steve was the last to enter, shutting the door behind himself. He then sat in the pilot's seat, while the 6 of us took seats in the back. There were 9 parachutes, and 9 helmets, hanging on both sides of the plane. Grab a chute, and a helmet, and put them on, Steve instructed. Dylan showed me how to put it on, and told me what to do. This is your ripcord. When you jump out, you're going to fall, fast, don't be scared. Yeah, right, I thought. Count to 50, and pull the cord, the chute will open. As you pull the cord, arch your back, and put your head back. Like this. He then gave a demonstration. The chute will then catch air, giving your body a jolt, as it pulls you upward, decreasing the speed of your fall drastically. Once you have leveled out, come back to normal position. There will be 2 handles dangling on your left and right, about head level. Grab the handles, but don't pull them yet. Now, when you want to turn, pull down on the right one to turn right, pull down on the left one to turn left, pull down both of them at the same time to slow your descent. When you feel your feet hit the ground, tuck and roll. Got it, he said. God, I hope so, I replied. Don't worry, I'll be right behind you, Dylan said, assuring me. You'll be fine man, Eric stated. Piece of cake bro, Ronnie said. Stacy and Amanda didn't say anything. We're going to climb to 18,000 feet, and when I say go, you jump. Steve said, and started the plane. 18. Dylan said loudly, I've only jumped from 14. Don't worry, Steve said assuringly, turning around and smiling, more free fall time my boy. And away we go. Steve said sing-songish, as the plane then began to move. I was starting to get nervous. Nah, I wasn't nervous. I was scared shitless. At that point, I just so happened to look out the window and saw a man in a white shirt, a black tie, wearing black pants, a black jacket, and a black hat, come running out of the terminal, waving his arms in the air. I could tell he was screaming by the way his mouth was moving. I tapped Dylan on the shoulder and pointed out the window. He looked, and saw the same thing I did. What the fuck? He said loudly. Steve then yelled out, y'all all right back there, as the plane lifted off the ground. Yeah, we're fine, I shouted. Dylan then gathered everyone to the back of the plane. Steve is not the real pilot, he whispered. Stacy then screamed, and covered her mouth. The others had a look of shock on their faces. How did he get the key, and does he even know how to fly this thing? I whispered. I don't fucking know. No one does. Amanda answered. What's going on back there? Steve yelled. I accidentally stepped on her foot. That's all. Eric yelled back. We're just talking about it. Ronnie said. We all just looked at him. He then shrugged his shoulders. All right. Listen. Dylan whispered once again. Let's just let this play out. If we make a scene, Steve, or whatever the hell his name is, could crash the plane, and we all die. Just pretend that nothing's wrong. When we reached the jump height, we jump, and leave Mr. Socks and Sandals, up here, to do whatever he wants with the plane. Okay. We all just shook our heads. We then spent the next 20 or so minutes just sitting there, eyes forward, and not saying a word. After a while, Steve announced, We're at 17.5 y'all. Get ready to jump. He then put the plane on autopilot. I guess he really does know how to fly this thing, I thought. Anyway, he left the cockpit, and took a position by the door. We all then formed a line to the right side of it, holding the bar next to us. Ronnie was first, then Eric, then Stacy, then Amanda, then me, and last was Dylan. Ronnie was standing in front of the door. Steve then whipped it open. A huge gust of wind then came bursting through the cabin of the plane. Fly, my little birdies. Fly, Steve yelled excitedly. Go, and motioned for Ronnie to jump. He did. Steve then counted to 10, out loud. This sequence continued until it was my turn. I just stood there, even after he told me to go. The second time he told me, I looked at Dylan, he just smiled at me. I will remember that smile until the day I die. Anyway, I took a deep breath, said a little prayer to God, crossed myself, primal screamed, and then jumped. There I was, falling through the air, scared out of my mind. Then I remembered what Dylan said, and figured, if I was going to get out of this alive, I had to do what he said. I grabbed the ripcord, and started to count. I got to 50, and pulled the cord. The parachute then popped open, scaring me even more. I arched my back, and leaned my head back as well. Open. Please open, I screamed. There was a sudden jolt, which hurt like a bitch by the way, just like Dylan said. After a few seconds, I came back to normal position, and realized I was floating through the air. I reached up and grabbed the two handles. Okay, this isn't so bad. I kinda like it, I thought to myself. Getting comfortable with the situation, I started to look around. I saw Ronnie, Eric, Stacy, and Amanda, with their chutes open, doing circles in midair. I decided to try it. I was just about to pull the right handle, when I heard terrified screaming from above me. I looked up, and saw Dylan falling through the air, his chute unopened. At first I thought he was playing around, until he went soaring by me, and slammed into Stacy's parachute, causing her chute to collapse, and the two of them to begin falling to the ground. Stacy screaming as well. I watched in complete horror, as their bodies plummeted, until I couldn't see them anymore. I screamed, and began to thrust my body all around. I soon realized that all the added pressure on the harness, and the wires, could cause them to break, and I would fall as well. I stopped squirming, and stayed as still as possible, well, as still as I could. I was shaking like a leaf. I then decided to try and follow the other three down to the ground. I began turning left and right, trying to keep at least one of them in my line of sight. Soon, the ground came into view. Luckily, there was a huge field close by. The other three saw it as well, and began heading for it, I assume. I watched as Ronnie landed on the ground, then Eric about 50 feet from Ronnie, then Amanda about 30 feet from Eric, all popping off their harnesses. I followed shortly after, screaming as I did. My feet hit the ground, I tucked up, and rolled like Dylan said. It hurt really bad. Ronnie and Eric then came running towards me. Amanda was just standing there, her hands covering her face, screaming and crying. "Get this thing off of me," I yelled, struggling to get free. Ronnie then hit the harness, directly in the middle. It popped open, and I quickly took it off, ripping my tie off as well. I threw it to the ground. "What the fuck happened to Dylan and little Stacy? We gotta find them," Eric screamed frantically. "Dylan, Stacy," he began to scream. Ronnie then stopped him. "Eric, they're dead, man. We gotta worry about ourselves now," he said. "Fuck you, Ronnie. I'm going to find my friends," Eric yelled, and began to run past Ronnie. Ronnie then grabbed him by the arm. Eric spun around and took a swing. Ronnie ducked, and pushed Eric back. I then stepped in the middle of them, their fists clenched to their sides. Amanda still screaming. "Stop, you guys. Fighting each other is not going to help," I said, holding my hands up to both of them. "You're right," I said, looking at Ronnie. "They probably are dead. And you're right too," I said, turning my head to look at Eric. "We do need to find them. But poor Amanda is left all alone over there. Let's calm her down, then we'll all go look for them, together." "Okay." Eric and Ronnie just stared at each other. "Fine," Eric said aggressively. "All right," Ronnie said, just as aggressive. They both unclenched their fists, and shook hands. All three of us then walked over to Amanda, who had stopped screaming at that point, and was just standing there. We all gathered around her, as she stood there, shaking, in complete shock. "Dylan, Stacy," she said, her voice cracking as she did. "We'll find them," Eric said. "Yeah, we'll find them," I said as well. Ronnie then looked around. "Where the hell are we?" he asked. "I don't know, but there's got to be people somewhere around here," I stated. "Which way do we go?" Amanda said, a little calmer. "I think I saw a house, or something, in the middle of those trees over there, when I came in," Eric said, pointing to his left. "I saw it too," Amanda chimed in. "Let's go that way then," Ronnie said. "Let's go." We all began to run in that direction, leaving the parachutes and my tie behind. After a couple minutes of running, we came to the edge of the trees. We walked in, and immediately felt the atmosphere around us change. The air was really thick and heavy. It kind of had a misty feel to it. "What the hell?" Eric said. "Do you feel that?" "Yeah," I said. "The air in here feels wrong. We gotta keep going. We gotta find them," he said. We all agreed. We walked, and walked, and walked some more, with nothing but trees around us. No house, no cabin, no nothing, nothing but trees. We all stopped and looked around. "Dylan, Stacy, Stacy, Dylan." We all began to yell. As we were yelling, the wind picked up drastically. I looked up to see storm clouds moving in, at a speed I never seen before. "Look," I said, and pointed toward the sky. "Just fucking great," Amanda said. "Two of my friends are most likely dead. We're lost in the middle of some fucking forest, only God knows where, and now it's gonna fucking rain. Come on, we gotta go," Ronnie said, and took off running through the trees. "Wait," we all screamed in unison, as we began to try and keep up with Ronnie. Now, given the fact that Ronnie ran track in school, he was much faster than us. We watched him dodge left and right, jump over tree branches, until he disappeared in the cluster of trees. We all stopped, leaning over, trying to catch our breath. "Ronnie," I screamed, then coughed from lack of oxygen. "Let him go, man," Eric said. "We'll never catch up to him. We can't just leave him out here," Amanda stated. "He left us, remember," Eric shot back. The rain then began to fall, slowly at first, then rapidly increased over time, until it was coming down in droves. We took off, through the woods, trying to dodge the raindrops. That didn't work out too well. Anyway, we stopped dead in our tracks, when we heard Ronnie scream. He screamed again, and we bolted, through the rain, through the trees, in the direction of the sound. "Ronnie," Eric screamed. "Ronnie, where are you?" There was no reply. We walked a little further, and found Ronnie, well, what was left of him, the victim of some kind of vicious animal attack. His right arm was severed from his body, as well as his left foot. His clothes were shredded, exposing massive wounds, deep wounds, to his face, upper torso and stomach area, as well as both his legs. Blood was everywhere. Amanda and I both vomited repeatedly, right where we stood. Eric just stared at the body. "What the fuck did this?" Eric yelled, looking up at us. "A bear. A fucking mountain lion. What the fuck did this?" "I don't fucking know. But we gotta get out of here, before it comes back, and fucking kills all of us," I screamed back at him. The rain was then accompanied by the sound of thunder, as lightning bolts filled the skies, and the fog began rolling in. "Let's go," I screamed. Eric, Amanda and I then began to run again, in the opposite direction, back the way we came. The fog was growing thicker with every passing second. I stopped running, and began walking, barely able to see through the fog. "Amanda, Eric," I yelled. "I'm right here." I barely heard Amanda say through the sounds of the storm, "Where's Eric?" "I don't know," I yelled. "I'm coming to you. Keep talking, and I'll follow the sound of your voice." "I don't know what to say," she yelled. "Then sing. You like to sing. Sing something." I yelled back, "Sing it loud." I then heard Amanda start belting out the opening verse to the Lita Ford song Kiss Me Deadly. I always loved Amanda's voice. Anyway, I finally found her, and she stopped singing. Both of us completely drenched. Well, obviously we were drenched. It was pouring its ass off out there. Duh. Anyway, we gotta find Eric, Amanda said. We both started yelling for him. "Eric, Eric, where are you, Eric?" we screamed. Suddenly, the rain stopped falling, the thunder and lightning diminished, the sky cleared up, the storm was gone, but the fog remained. Guys, where are you?" We then heard Eric say, "Over here," we yelled. "Where?" We heard Eric say, "A little bit closer now. Keep coming. I can hear you getting closer," I yelled. Finally, he reached us. Amanda then hugged him, thankful he was okay. "We gotta stick together," he said. "We can't get lost in this fog anymore." Suddenly, we heard several tree limbs breaking right behind us. We all turned around. "Who's there?" Eric yelled, and took a few steps forward. "Show yourself," he said. We then heard the most ear-piercing growl, as two bright red lights appeared through the fog. They were not lights. No, they were eyes. Eric stepped back and screamed, as this massive creature appeared through the fog. It was unlike anything I ever seen before, not even in horror movies. It had to be at least 10 feet tall. It had pale gray skin, that hugged tightly against its skeletal frame, with 4 arms on the left, and 4 arms on the right of its torso. Its legs were muscular and massive. Its hands and its feet were incredibly large, with nails the size of railroad spikes. It had 2 bright red eyes, 2 holes where its nose should have been, and a mouth that stretched from one side of its head to the other. 2 deer-like ears sat on the top of its head, with several horns protruding from the top of it as well. Some of the horns were broken. It quickly reached out, with one of the 4 arms on its right, and snatched Eric up. Amanda screamed, as one of this thing's left arms reached over, and ripped Eric's head completely off, throwing both the head and the body to the ground, blood pouring out like a water faucet. We then took off running, screaming our brains out. That thing right behind us, how it didn't catch us, I'll never know, but it didn't. We ran for about 10 minutes, never losing sight of each other, until we reached the tree line. Just beyond the tree line was a road, a paved road. We ran out into the road and stopped. Luckily, nothing was coming. The fog lifted quickly as we did. Amanda was screaming and crying, after just witnessing her brother being brutally ripped apart by that behemoth of a creature. That massive creature then came to the tree line itself, and just stood there, growling. After 5 minutes or so, the creature turned and left. "It can't leave the trees," I said, then walked over to Amanda, hugging her and letting her cry on my shoulder. Under any other circumstance, I would have been the happiest man in the world. "It's gonna be okay," I said, rubbing her hair. She then looked up at me, with tears in her eyes. Now, what I did next, some would call me a jerk for doing. But at that time, it felt like the right thing to do. As her gorgeous blue eyes locked with mine, I leaned over and gently kissed her lips. I knew for sure, that the second our lips touched, that she was going to beat the living dog shit out of me, right there in the middle of the road. But she didn't. She just leaned her head back and smiled. Amanda then reached her hand out to me, and I took her hand. We then walked down the center of the road, on the yellow line. She began singing that Lita Ford song again. When she sang the first line of the chorus, I stopped walking, spun her around, and planted a great big kiss directly on her lips, and she kissed me back. I know, right? Now, they say that relationships that evolve out of traumatic experiences never last, but I was going to ride that wave, for as long as I could. There we were, in the middle of the road, soaking wet, and kissing. The kiss fest soon came to an end, when we heard air brakes, the sound of a diesel engine, and a tractor-trailer truck horn. I looked to my right. Amanda looked to her left, and saw this huge tractor-trailer sitting there about 10 feet from us. The driver then opened the door, climbed out and said, "You kids all right?" He was a big man, mid-50s maybe, wearing blue jeans, a dark brown t-shirt, an unbuttoned red flannel button-up shirt over top of it, and a green John Deere hat. We both then ran to him. "Get us out of here, please help, where the hell are we?" we said at the same time. "Get in, and tell me what happened on the way. I got a deadline to meet." We got in, and I gave him the whole rundown of what happened, from the time I woke up, to the time he picked us up. "Your friends are still out there?" he asked. We just nodded our heads. "Screw the deadline. We're going to the cops," he stated. He then dropped us off at the local police station. We walked in, and told them what happened as well, including the name of the skydiving company. Now, to make an even longer story short, Amanda and I spent 3 days in the local hospital, in the same room, talking to doctors and psychologists to make sure we were okay. Somehow, the news of what happened got out, but as I said, they didn't tell you what really happened. On the second day we were there, we were approached by an attorney, who came in our room, shut the door behind him, and said he represented the skydiving company, and that he was authorized to offer $250,000 to each of us, in exchange for never mentioning the name of the company again. We accepted. He also made us sign a non-disclosure agreement. We gave a description of Steve to the local police. Come to find out, Steve's real name was Randall Whitmore, an escaped patient from the house for the criminally insane back in the town we lived in. Where he got those tacky clothes from, I'll never know. One of the officers told us that after speaking to the nurses at the facility, Randall would often pretend he was a pilot, flying other patients around, and that how-to books were found in his room. Apparently, he took the keys off the real pilot's belt while he was sleeping at the terminal. As far as I know, he was never found. The police did find Eric's and Ronnie's bodies, as well as Eric's head, and all of Ronnie's parts, after a 3-day search of the wooded area, where the truck driver picked us up. Mile marker 113. I remembered it, from when we got in the truck. I looked over and saw it. Anyway, their bodies and parts were returned home to their families, for a proper burial. There were no reports of the creature. Dylan and Stacy's bodies were never recovered, and are believed to have been eaten by a pack of wild coyotes that were seen in and around the area. I asked Amanda why she always took advantage of the fact that I liked her. She said she liked me too, and was just playing hard to get. After we were released from the hospital, the sheriff had one of his deputies drive Amanda and I home. That was 2 years ago. Amanda and I are still together, and are expecting our first child in June. She moved in with me, and I couldn't be happier. We visit Eric's and Ronnie's graves as often as we can, just to say hi. We put our money together, and opened up a little coffee shop in town called Coffee 24/7. Stop by sometime. Amanda drinks coffee just as much as I do. Anyway, in case you were wondering why I'm telling you all this, well, it's because today, as I was mowing the grass, with my brand new John Deere lawn mower, a cackle of crows decided to land on top of the fence that surrounds our house. No big deal, I said to myself, it's just a bunch of birds. Then I looked closer. One of the crow's necks was leaning over to the left, its face was smashed in, and its right eye was missing. In the memory of Dylan Masters, Stacy Wright, Ronald W. Jackson, and Eric Melner, you are truly missed.